has to be a relaxed posture of your eyes. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Shambhavi Mudra because it's a simple and easy position for the eyes which helps to induce a deeper state during meditation. And with a little practice and a little effort, you can turn this into a habit to back you up during every single meditation. How do you do it? It's quite simple. We're going to get into our meditative posture, and then we're going to take the two eyes and we're just going to look up towards what's commonly known as the spiritual eye, also known as the Canasta. So we want to look up to this point right here. That's it. That is Shambhavi Mudra. The trick is to make it a habit so that you can't meditate without it. That it just feels strange to be sitting in meditation without that position of your eyes. That's the kind of habit that you want to create. So you want to be able to close your eyes, and you just want to direct your gaze very gently and very easily to this point right here between the eyebrows. So here's the eyebrows, and the point is actually above the intersection of your two eyebrows. So it's just slightly above. That's where you want to focus your gaze. Another way we can find this point is to imagine that we're concentrating on something, that we are thinking on something very hard, and we begin to knit our brows together. And when we do that, the two brows come together and you can feel the beginning of a slight pressure at the point between the eyebrows. That is the Canasta. The Canasta really though is just a mirror image of another part of the brain which is all the way towards the back, and that is the medulla oblongata. And I could just point to it for you. That would be easy enough, right? But it's much deeper and much better if you can find it with your heart mind. That is your chitta. So if you could find that. So how would we do that? The way to find your medulla oblongata with your heart mind is to think back when you had an aha moment where you just got something, when you really grokked it, right? And you went, oh, now I get it, right? The aha moment. And what do you naturally do when that happens? You tip your head back and you strain the uppermost part of your cervical vertebrae. You strain that one point and you go, oh, now I get it, right? That point that you're straining at the very top of the cervical vertebrae, in other words, the point between your skull and your cervical vertebrae, that is the opening of your medulla oblongata. So you have your spine, and then at the top of your spine there's a part of the spinal cord which is swollen. It's larger than the rest of the spine. That is the medulla oblongata, and that is the sixth chakra, the chakra at the top of the spine. And that is what the Canasta, what the spiritual eye is a reflection of, is that deep part, the Ajna Chakra. People say the Ajna Chakra is here. It's not. The Ajna Chakra is the medulla and right above the medulla. Gopi Krishna was meditating for 20 years, I think, and he had a sudden Kundalini awakening. It was very overpowering because of the technique that he was doing, and it immobilized him. He had to stay in bed, and his wife had to go work for him in India. So it was a very difficult process for him, and it's not meant to be that way, but because of the technique that he was using, that's what happened to him. And it awakened his brain to, the Kundalini awakened his brain to a great extent, and he began to study what was going on with him in a way that he had never done before. And he tells us that the old yogic arts will always describe 6 chakras or centers. And the newer stuff will always describe 7. So when you're listening to somebody describe 7 chakras, you should be aware that this is a new system. It's not a tried and true ancient system. The more original yoga will always have 6 centers. That's a huge difference that very few people know and understand that. So when we're directing our eyes, our 2 physical eyes, to the spiritual eye, we're actually directing ourselves back to the medulla. That's the true center. But you may experience physical sensations in the front of the brain, in the spiritual eye, in the Canasta. That experience is the true Shambhavi Mudra. In his teachings to his students, Lahiri Mahasaya mentioned 3 knots. The first knot that he mentioned was the tongue knot, because he wanted his students to stretch the tongue and put it up into the nasal pharynx, that's Kachari Mudra. That's a different mudra. We'll talk about Kachari Mudra another day, but this process of putting the tongue up into the head deeply stimulates the brain, and doing so helps the yogi awaken the top of the spine enormously, and that leads to a magnetic sensation. It is that magnet which is the true experience of Shambhavi Mudra. So what can happen in that experience of the magnet is that the 2 physical eyes will be drawn up to the point between the brows, like a giant magnet is pulling them up into the brain. And it can become very, very strong, especially if you don't understand that the true point is the medulla. If you just think it's the spiritual eye, that sensation can become overpowering and alarming. So always keep it in the background of your brain that the true point is the Ajna Chakra, which is not in the front of the brain, it is in the medulla and right above it. That is the true point. This is a huge secret, a huge misunderstanding. We'll be correcting that more and more in later videos. But for now, just keep that in mind. When that pull comes, when the eyes are drawn up to the spiritual eye easily and naturally, all by themselves, when you feel that magnet, that is the true Shambhavi Mudra. When we lift our eyes and meditate, we are endeavoring to induce that deeper state. I was a novice in an ashram. I was leading the afternoon meditation, and it was a very nice meditation, just a half-hour meditation with all the postulant monks that were there. You would signal that the meditation is done by rubbing your hands on your thighs. So a very nice and silent way to signal that the meditation was concluded. We could get up and we could go. And as we all began to walk out, there was one Swami who was there, who was a huge influence on me. His name was Brother Bimalananda, and he was from Italy. Beautiful, beautiful soul. He did something that was very out of character, and I think it was because just the younger monks were there. But he stopped in the doorway, turned to all the younger monks. All of them were postulants. I was the only novice that was there. And he turned to all of us and he said, "Something very strange is happening to me in meditation." He says, "Whenever I sit to meditate," he said, "Divine Mother is pulling me like a magnet to the spiritual eye." He says, "I don't know what it is." And that was it. That's all he had to say. And he walked off on his way, and all us young monks kept in silence and proceeded to go to eat lunch. And my mind was reeling because I knew what it was. And this man who was my mentor had been there in the ashram meditating for decades, longer than I had, and he didn't know what it was. And I thought, my goodness, how do I share with everybody what it is? So here I am, sharing with you. Brother Bimalananda was a very deep soul, and I miss him. He was experiencing the true Shambhavi Mudra. That's what it is. It's a pulling, it's a magnet. And more than that, this is something no one will tell you, it is Lahiri Mahasaya's first knot. That is the experience of the unbinding of the first knot. The second knot is the heart knot, and the third knot is the coccyx. Those are Lahiri Mahasaya's 3 knots. So if Shambhavi Mudra, the real thing, if it comes over you and you start to feel that magnet in the forehead, and it's actually between the two frontalis bones. There's a suture here, right down the center of the forehead, and it takes place in between those two bones. If that magnet becomes so powerful that it begins to feel uncomfortable, remember the medulla and move your attention back to the medulla and let that magnetic quality move into its home, which is the medulla oblongata, which is, oh, now I get it, the aha moment. That is the center of knowing and deep understanding when we get it. And that's what we want. We want to get life a little more as we walk out of meditation. That's what we hope for, right? So I hope this was very helpful to you. Please hit subscribe if this was, and get ready for more in-depth discussions on meditation. Be sure to leave a comment below how this worked for you. If you've experienced the true Shambhavi Mudra, let everybody know. Tell us what it's like for you.